for I let you in on what I am doing. I'm willing to go over it line by line. Would anyone willing to listen? Let's take Lazarus and his sisters. Some real BFFs of Jesus. They didn't know that Jesus stayed away from healing Lazarus because God was setting the stage for himself and his son to be glorified when Jesus raised Lazarus. It was some very tough going until they understood what God was up to. And the incredible part, they got to play in it. Can you imagine? These people got a crash course in Holy Mature Joy, guys. I mean, they went from joy being with Jesus, friend of Jesus, love Jesus, know Jesus, to boom, Holy Mature Joy in a day. When Jesus turned Lazarus into the poster child for the hope of the Lord. Guys, can you imagine when they finally got Lazarus untied, cleaned up, and got that party started? Unbelievable, immeasurable joy. Guys, I would imagine it was enough joy for them to live their entire lives on. If someone had asked Lazarus afterwards, Laz, would you do it again? How could you have said anything other than, of course I'm doing anything for my friend Jesus. Do it again? Actually, I rather think I will. Only the next time I die, it's going to be really different. I would imagine this is the message that the sisters sent on that day. Dear friends, our brother Lazarus has died again. Please join us for a party celebrating his life. Not just the life he's lived with us, but the life he is living now. For we know he has walked again through the door of death and hears and sees again our dear friend and master, Jesus, whose own death and resurrection makes our party possible. There will be no professional mourners this time, only dancers. Led, of course, by our beloved sister Martha. Sign of the fish. P.S. Please bring a dish. Martha, as you know, rarely cooks anymore. Come on. You don't think those people live free and light after that? Guys, this is the life. This is the life, and we can choose it. Jesus said, I listen, then I decide. And we do decide. Now, Jesus decided perfectly. He heard perfectly. He carried it out perfectly. Even when it was definitely hard. Remember the garden? No, we can't do it perfectly. Of course we can't. But that can't be the reason for not trying. For not going there. That can never be what stops us. Oh, sometimes I still say, too scary. Sometimes I've said, can you get back to me on it? Sometimes he does. Sometimes he doesn't. Spirit moves on, I miss it. Sometimes it's a little nudge. Sometimes it's a Then the heavens open and the voice of God says, really? You're really not going to go there with me? Okay. You're lost. And it is, oh gosh, it is so my loss. I so lose. Because we have lived and walked together long enough for him to show me the joy, the faith, the love, the blessing, the miracle I miss when I choose natural Nancy over the new way of living. When I choose fear over freedom. When I choose heaviness over lightness. Oh, I so lose. I begin to understand a little bit of what Jesus is talking about when he says, if you lose your life, you're busy on the boss of your life. For my sake and the sake of my kingdom, you will find it. This new way of living. But if you hold on to your little natural life, lose it. The chance at this Jesus joy, God glorified life that Christ in you wants for you. Many years ago, in a small Midwestern town, there lived a young telegraph operator. He would spend hours in front of the telegraph, learning to hear and accurately decipher all of the messages that came through, no matter how loud, no matter how soft, how fast or slow the messages came. His joy, his passion, his life was to be a telegraph operator. And he was a very good one. But the Great Depression cost him his job and his little town. So when he heard that there were jobs to be had in the city, his friends and his family scraped together all they could for months to send him there. After days and days of anxious searching, he finally heard of a job interview for a very large company on the top of one of the tallest buildings in the city. He was scared, but so hopeful when he walked into the room and it was filled with people actually working. He couldn't believe it. He hadn't seen that in months. Secretaries were typing, clerks were filing. They were working the switchboard. There was a whole assembly line of people packing, papers, people. It was a cacophony of busyness. He was overjoyed. His joy was dashed when he turned and he looked at the boss's door and saw 30 or 40 men standing outside to be interviewed for the job. Most of them were older. All of them were better dressed. Some even had like leather bags and gold watches. He'd come this far though. A lot of people were counting on him. So he had to see it through. Dejectedly he went, found a spot on the floor and sat down for a long wait. After a minute, he suddenly stood up, straightened his shabby suit, walked to the boss's door, opened it, and went in front of everyone else. A few of the guys looked at each other in wide-eyed amazement. A few others started laughing, but every one of them turned their gaze and fixed it on that door. Wait. And sure enough, a minute later, out walked the boss with the young man. And he said, "Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for coming. The job has been filled." They were stunned and immediately began protesting. "Well, I've been here since 6 a.m. You can't do this. This isn't fair. I'm 20 years older than this kid. You haven't even looked at." Boss held up his hand and he said, "Gentlemen, please, you'll understand. You just listen." No, you listen. I'm not about to go back and face my family and tell them I never even got a shot at this. This isn't fair. You can't let it. He held up his hand again and said even louder this time, "Gentlemen, please, I ask you, listen." And one by one, they began to hear it. In the far corner of that busy, noisy room was a telegraph typing out the message, "When you hear this, come in. The job is yours." Don't you want to hear the voice of Jesus above all the busy distractions and diversions and unnecessary things in your life and in this world? I do. I want the job. Because he's the boss of me. I want the joy down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. I want the joy down in my heart.
Where?
Down in my heart to stay. I want to hear the voice of Jesus tell me, down in my heart.
Where?
Down in my heart. What? Down in my heart. I want to hear the voice of Jesus tell me, down in my heart.
What?
Telling what to do and say, when to go, to stay, how to hear, what to see, how to love, how to be you, Jesus. For this is the life you want for us, for you said, I have come that you might have this life and have it abundantly. It is a life of prevailing well-being with the Father. I want this so much for you. In fact, I'm dying for you to have it. So come, give us the courage to desire it, the discipline to pursue it, and the joy that it brings. For we must decrease, and you must increase. Bring it on. And all the people said, Amen.
I believe the Father is on the edge of his seat waiting